Iowa. Democrat strategist and former New York State Senator David Carlucci, plus honorary chairman of Tea Party Patriots Action, Jenny Beth Martin. Jenny Beth, want to get your reaction to Tim Scott running. Many people are saying that this will make it even more challenging for the former president. Some say that it will make it easier for Donald Trump to come 2024. What's your take?
Well, let me step back and unpack that in two different ways. First, the video that Tim Scott did, I think every single viewer should go and watch the entire video. He launched it today on the anniversary of the first shot in the Civil War, and he did it at Fort Sumter. And at this time when America is so sharply divided, and I travel the country hearing people worry that we might go into our own civil war in this generation, I think it's important to listen to his video and watch it and remember just how far we've come. His is a story of hope and optimism and the exceptionalism of America, and I think all Americans need to hear that. As far as the presidential race goes, it will be a crowded field, and that's what happens. And he will bring a lot to the debate and to the conversation because he has this message of exceptionalism, even though I think a lot, maybe the majority of primary voters have already made their mind up on who they plan to vote for.
Maybe not. Those things have changed over time. But if they made up their mind today, let's take a look at the latest Ipsos poll released yesterday. Tim Scott doesn't scratch the surface. President Trump having a commanding lead over GOP primary voters. It's kind of like the overwhelming favorite we see there, David, is the former president. But as in sports, that's why you play them, right? We still have to go through the process, and there still is I hate to bring it up, but there's a case. The former president's going to have to show up in town tomorrow unless they get it delayed against him. We've got something may come out about the documents in Florida, something about Georgia, about phone calls and other efforts. These things do you think that could take shots at that majority, which is an impressive number right now for the president, but of course over time could change?
Yeah, I give a lot of credit to Senator Scott for putting his feelers out there, at least, and exploring the possibility of running for president. Look, on paper, Senator Scott looks great. But if you watch that ad, you see that he's talking about President Biden when he really needs to be talking about Donald Trump. But we know he's not going to do that because that will alienate much of the base that's rallied behind Donald Trump. But the reality is that it was said earlier on this broadcast that it's the primary voters. Many of them have already decided. You look at those polling numbers, it shows Donald Trump off the charts compared to other candidates. Yet you hear many Republicans wanting to make a turn away from Donald Trump and what he represents. But unfortunately, it looks like there's many people that are just too loyal to Donald Trump. So if Scott is going to win this race, he's really got to pivot. And unfortunately, he's going to have to take the gloves off and go right after Donald Trump. But I don't see that in his strategy. And I think he's going to be trailing the whole way.
Yeah, David, we don't have a ton of time, but want to get your thoughts as a Democrat strategist. What do you think the strategy should be for President Biden, particularly if former President Trump does get the nomination?
Well, then it's very simple. It's really a repeat of 2020. And the Donald Trump playbook hasn't worked since 2016. We see that divisiveness is really, it gathers a small group of really, rabid supporters. But beyond that, to win a general election is very difficult. So I get it. I understand that as the Republicans, they have to cater to their base, just like the Democrats do. And unfortunately, the people that play in these primaries are, hardcore to the right or hardcore to the left. And in order to take on President Biden, they're going to have to play more to the middle.
Okay.
But to get through these primaries is going to be very difficult for them.
David, Carlucci, Jenny Beth Martin, thank you very much. Now, he was making that argument for the Democrats, but there are a lot of people on the other side who would say, look, we have open borders right now. We have lack of military strength around the world. And we've been fighting inflation, which brings us to this story. Inflation did slow to 5%.